They're like, yeah, we'll start right at 11. Tell me when I'm live.
I think you're ready. Yeah.
Okay, I should be live. All right, so I gotta probably switch. Okay, great. Here we go. Here we go. We are live. We are live. Welcome, guys. It's the March 2025 live stream here at the Reid Stefan Realist channel in the game. And my live stream was scheduled to start at 11, and my neighbor's landscaping was apparently scheduled to start at 11 o'clock too, because a symphony of leaf blowers just started as this live stream started. And, you know, they probably should be quick, but we're just going to rock with it. So welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. So glad to have everybody here. Oh, we got our first comment of the live stream. Baharo Sowala. Hello, bro. So good to have you here. It's always good to... It's just such a pleasure always having you here in the streams. Really great to have you guys. So if you guys haven't seen the banner below, we're having a 30% off St. Patrick's Day sale at wholeloops.com. I know St. Patrick's Day was technically the day before yesterday, but we're going to be rocking the 30% off deals for the entire rest of March 2025 at wholeloops.com. So the savings are abundant, and the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow is at wholeloops.com. Kara's in the house. Yay, Melodyne Course is finally out. That's correct. For anybody who is challenged in the pitch department like I am, just to put it lightly, the Melodyne Course is now available at wholeloops.com. This is the follow-up to the best-selling Autotune Pro course, where we teach you the industry's biggest secrets of manual vocal pitch correction. Man, these leaf blowers are just blowing up a storm outside my window right now. I apologize if you can hear it in the background, you guys. Shouldn't take too long for them to be finished. As I was saying, the Melodyne Pro course is out today. And this is not only teaching you the ins and outs of the Melodyne plugin and all the shortcuts and tools and controls, but this is a complete vocal session showing you how to tune good singing and how to tune bad singing. I sing an entire cover of Don't You Worry Child by Swedish House Mafia, and my poor friend Nash, God bless his soul, he has to Melodyne every single word by hand. But he does it, and he teaches you how to do it along the way. So that course is available now at wholeloops.com, and after my voice gets tuned, Kara does a great example of how to tune good singing, and she performs her cover of Water by Tyla, and then Nash does some little adjustments and polishing touches to all the notes just to tighten it up and give it that radio-ready polish that you're so used to hearing in popular music. So it's all available now at the Melodyne Course, only at wholeloops.com. Jerry C is in the house. What's up, Jerry C? Good to see you again. He asks, what are the benefits of upgrading from Melodyne Essentials? The big benefit that stands out to me is the ability to access the polyphonic editing. The ability to not just work with vocals, but to take a chord loop and sample, drop it in there, and maybe change the key from major to minor, or just see what notes were in the chord and like convert audio to MIDI. You get the standalone app version. There's quite a few more music production related things beyond vocal production that the Melodyne Studio app gets you beyond Melodyne Essentials. Highly recommend it. Unfortunately, I don't have a coupon code to get you a discount on Melodyne itself, but the Melodyne Course is 30% off for St. Patrick's Day for the rest of the month. Hey, good question though. What does Melodyne offer over and above the stock Logic tuning tools? Well, within Melodyne, you have vocal timing, you have vocal de-essing, you have vocal format shifting, you have artificial harmony creating. Like I was mentioning in my previous answer, you have the ability to edit polyphonic audio instead of just monophonic audio, which is like against the laws of physics, but somehow they do it. And let's see, Logic's tuning sounds very computery very quickly, whereas Melodyne is just some elite level algorithms from some OG geniuses who really invented that entire thing to begin with. And the sound quality, the proof is in the pudding. When you use it and you A/B it, it should be pretty easy to tell which one was done in Logic and which one was done in Melodyne. But that being said, doing a comparison between one vocal software and another vocal tuning software is extremely hard. Everyone wants to know what's better, Auto-Tune or Melodyne, or what's better, Logic, pitch correction, or Auto-Tune graph mode. And the answer really comes down to your personal knowledge, because whoever is conducting the test, whichever software they personally know better and have more experience in, the results are always going to favor that software. And every time they do it, they're going to determine, oh, well, this software must be better. And it always happens to be the one they know better. So the answer really comes down to which one you're going to study, which one you're going to become familiar with, which one you might invest in courses or educational programs to learn from. And for me, the best two are Auto-Tune Graph Mode and Melodyne for manual pitch correction. Now, what's dope about Auto-Tune is you can always use it in auto mode. Obviously, Melodyne has some awesome shortcuts to like process all your words at once to get it done in just a couple clicks, but it's not like live Auto-Tune like you get with Auto-Tune. So there is that one big advantage of Auto-Tune, but Melodyne, like I said, is truly the OG of manual pitch correction and the algorithms needed to make it believable and natural. And these leaf blowers and landscapers are on level 100 right now. They're like out there revving it like it's like a leaf blower meet outside. They're doing a street takeover with their leaf blowers, and they're out there just blowing in circles. Anyways, so JR Music says, "Bros finna cook." Yes, that is right. I am finna cook. The show must go on, landscaping or not. Rob Foster says, my favorite puppet. Well, you know what? You are my favorite live stream viewer, so thank you so much for being here with us. I really appreciate it. These are really good questions. You guys are on and popping with the questions. Oh, another thing I forgot to mention earlier in the stream is wholeloops.com has been, has received a complete facelift. Every product, I should say, from top to bottom, from inside the store, all the sauces, all the drum kits, everything. Oh, thank you so much. Kara's going to switch it over for me here in my OBS. Every single thing has been freshly upgraded with a facelift here in wholeloops.com. As you can see, the Melodyne Course is popping with the new DVD covers, and everything is a little bit more 3D and just nice looking, whereas before it was just kind of flat. But not only did we upgrade the way wholeloops.com looks, we actually upgraded the way wholeloops.com performs. So it's just a way faster loading experience for you guys, way faster shop. It's just super snappy. It's poppin'. Lead vocal sauce has never looked so good. Can you believe that? Wow. That's just something special. And yeah, like I said, if you want to browse the brand new Melodyne course, you can also get it as a bundle with the Auto-Tune Pro course, which is really, really useful if you have both softwares. I always recommend people to learn both because they each have their own time and place. I always come across a word where one software struggles, but if you run it through the other one, you can get it nice, no problem. So it's always nice to have both different tools, and we have both different courses at wholeloops.com. And of course, the disrespectful 808s have never looked so good. I mean, they're just glistening in the sunlight right now, which is a sight to behold. But yes, if you want the entire bundle, you can see them all down there with a fresh new look. So yeah, wholeloops.com, all new and improved shopping experience for you guys, and also the customer dashboard is improved too. But you'll see that after you check out. Courses are improved. Everything is just smoother, nicer at wholeloops.com. Thank you so much. I appreciate you with the OBS work, Kara.
Wheel of Fortune girl.
I know. She like points to stuff. She doesn't really say much, but she always smiles and looks really nice and just loves her job. Oh yes. Oh yes. It's a beautiful day to be a music producer. Honestly, it's a beautiful year to be a music producer. I just got done helping Kara post this Monday's video for her channel. You know, we've made a commitment to post something every single Monday. So for this Monday, we decided to drop the best home studio setup for a $1,000 budget. Now, this is everything, if you already have a laptop, everything that you could get afterwards for your $1,000 budget. Obviously, that doesn't include the computer. But the options that you can get in 2025 for below $1,000 was what the used total came out to. Unreal. we did a whole vocal session at the end, and I don't think anybody would have guessed how affordable that vocal chain was when you listen to the playback of that Logic session. And it was just mixed with stock Logic plugins, right in Kara's Logic vocal template available at iamkara.com. And it really doesn't take an expensive vocal chain on the way in to produce really, really impressive results. You just got to know what to do with your plugins to solve, whatever nuances or issues that you're hearing, and get it from, like that 50% starting point to that 90 or 100% finishing point. So yeah, really never been a better time to be a music producer, to be setting up your first home studio. It just sounds so unbelievably good. Even the Focusrites and the mics that are $100-$200, pretty crazy. Yes, Kara says, every Monday, new video on my channel. Yeah, and we're actually taking a lot of video suggestions out of the comments, because coming up with a video every Monday is a lot of planning and a lot of ideation, and you guys have great ideas in the comments. So if there's something that you want to see in the future on Kara's channel, go over and just leave it as a comment, what you'd like to see, or what DAW you use, or what review you'd like to see of a product, or anything like that. We're down to help. Yeah. Let's see. Get back to the questions. I apologize if I butcher your guys' names, but I'm going to try my best. Navisol Natso 3722 asks, how can a music producer start earning online? All right, I'm going to just come up with a list, and I'm not going to say too much about each one. Yeah, we were about to make a video about this, so it's kind of fresh in my head. But the gist of it, because you asked, and we're all here and we're all curious, is number one, if you're a music producer and you're just specifically trying to make money online, like you're not trying to DJ, you're not trying to show up at a certain place and offer hourly services to people, you want to connect with the world. I'd say the number one best way to do that is to do your production on camera and post it on whatever social media platform resonates the most with you. At this point, they're really all equally good. Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. You can't go wrong with either choice, but start producing on camera in some way, some shape, or some form, or showing your finished productions on camera. Whatever it is, just start wrapping your head around how you are going to package your song with a visual so that it can kind of exist in the modern world. Because in today's society, like, digging up unheard of music is really hard to do. But digging up video content from someone you don't know is relatively easy. So kind of piggyback off of the technology that's available this year. So that would be my number one way to get noticed and to start making money. And you'll, number one, make money off your views. Number two, if you have presets or a sound or something that's specific to you for sale, you can open up a digital product shop. Or number three, you could sell beats online to singers or people who need instrumentals for their own releases. There's also singers who have already released a song who need remixes made. Maybe they want to re-promote their song with some specific genre remixes, and you kind of fit that need. So there's remixing. That's another really great income that you can do completely remotely online. Number three is engineering or remote mixing and production for people. You don't necessarily have to help them finish their songs for them as a producer, but you can easily mix or master or find an artist who you hear potential in and reach out and offer your services and expertise and find a way to work together. And even if you're not charging the money at first, you can come up with an agreement to profit together later. So there's way more than that too. If you're a producer, some producers started out as a musician, like a guitar player. So maybe be a session guitar player for people who need custom guitar loops for their songs. You could always fill in the blank with whatever your strengths are and apply that online through showcasing your work on camera. Excellent question. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Ibarop says hello. Welcome. Good to have you here. Oh, Gurab Mahata, good to have you. Good to see you again. Always good to have. We have our friend Simmoms here too. Definitely do socials. Yes, I couldn't agree more. If you are not putting your stuff on social media, you are absolutely playing yourself. Do not think Spotify or SoundCloud is social media. It's not. Video-based platforms are social media. Places where people are having conversations and discussions or leaving comments saying, what song is this? Those are social media platforms. How about a vid that focuses on getting rid of clicks and mouth sounds? That's a great one. We're constantly battling that in our voiceovers. In fact, we have a whole editing phase of our voiceover recording process that is just getting rid of clicks and mouth sounds. And we'll do a whole video on that. We personally use Ableton for all of our voiceover stuff, just because we have the best shortcuts down for that, and the DAW opens really quick. And we manually, with our mouse, cut out and fade the stuff we don't want. That's the short answer. However, recently we've been recording out here in this big wide open space, and instead of having the microphone in the shot, we've been going for this cleaner aesthetic where the mic is kind of hidden off camera. But that means that you're speaking like from 5 feet away into the microphone. So that introduces way more room echo, and you can hear like the ventilation in the room and just the higher noise floor. So lately we've been incorporating Isotope RX Dialogue Isolate. That's a new module that just came out with RX 11, and man, it works like a charm. You can't push it too hard because this kind of starts to sound goofy, but if you use it sparingly, you could get away with no acoustic treatment in a lot of situations and have really clean vocals. I wouldn't recommend it for music, but for like talking to the camera dialogue, man, it works great. Excellent questions, you guys. Let's see. So I'm just doing some scrolling and reading here. I didn't just zone out. Let's see. Wide open space is key to so-called commercial sound. Absolutely. I mean, it can be. It also can be like a really tight vocal booth sound, and wide open space is like the opposite. Here in our home studio, we actually have 2 rooms set up. One's really wide open and kind of reflective sounding on purpose. And one is really tight and dead and close up and clear sounding on purpose. And that way we can kind of pick what space best meets our needs for whatever project we're doing. A lot of people have this kind of like all or one, like everything must be perfect or nothing mentality, but you could really work a lot with a little. And that goes for acoustic treatment, that goes for computer specs, that goes for audio interface or microphone quality. Don't think because people choose expensive ones when they have a budget that they needed an expensive one. I mean, they usually started their career with something way cheaper, and you can too. Let's see. Will I collab with an Indian music producer? I did a whole bunch of music productions with Kashmir, like a whole album for Kara on that. So if you want to hear that, you could check that out. Let's see. That's up on Kara's Spotify. I'm trying to read some other questions that we have here that I possibly missed. Let's see. Oh, speaking of Kara, her website also has an entire new look as well. Yeah, I forgot to mention that earlier, because I know a lot of people that are shopping Whole Loops are also shopping at iamkara.com. And even though the new course is at Whole Loops, iamkara.com has an entirely new look as well, which is really nice. Thank you, Kara, for we get this set up. Say what's up to everyone in the audience. Say what's up to Kara.
What up? Okay, let me get this.
Thank you for giving me a hand with OBS. She's honestly way better than me at OBS by this point, so I have her do it for me.
All right. So, do you want
As I was saying, iamkara.com has a completely new look. All the products from top to bottom are freshly redone, a lot nicer and cleaner looking. And like I said, with Whole Loops, the overall website is just faster loading, snappier, more responsive, easier to find what you're looking for, more organized. And the user dashboard where you download your products and view your courses is much improved as well. So we've been working really hard over the past couple weeks to improve iamkara.com and wholeloops.com to give you the smoothest customer experience, whether you're shopping for courses, presets, templates, or sample packs. Everything's really easy to find, really well described. We kind of went through all the product descriptions and enhanced everything, and just top to bottom, just a better online store experience. So boom.
Yeah.
Welcome to iamkara.com, and everything is 30% off during the month of March for, let's see, St. Patrick's Day. Man, I can't believe it's already past St. Patrick's Day. That was the day before yesterday. Time is flying. What's next? The 4th of July? Let's see. How long have you been making music for? Wow, that's a good question. It has been 15 years since I've been making music. I guess you could say 20 if you'd go back to me just experimenting with musical instruments, but it's been like 15 of me heavily experimenting with recording and music production software. Yeah, I'm not as old as my Wikipedia page says I am. I don't know who put that who put that age there.
I have no idea why you're like 50 years old.
I know Wikipedia says I'm 50. I know the fabric on my face is all like wrinkly and aged looking, but I'm definitely not the age on my Wikipedia. I don't know what AI generated sludge put that there. Let's see. Are you doing any songs for pitch or for other artists or for placements? Everything that we write is pretty much for us to either release or to specifically use as music in our content. We're not pitching for other artists, and
You did that for 10 years, though.
yeah, Kara's right. We did do that for 10 years, but we're not really doing that anymore. Everything that we write, we usually have a focused purpose for already. Even before we go and sit down and write it, we already know what we need the song for, and that heavily influences what kind of song we're going to make. And we do pitch songs for placements in syncs and television shows and commercials and movies and video games and those kind of things. But those usually aren't the placements that people are thinking about when they say word placements. They're thinking about like rappers and like singers and stuff. And the answer to that is no. We're doing our own in-house things with our music. Have you had a chance to check out the Warm Audio 2 MPX? Wonderful flavor. Man, no, it's been 8 years since I've tried some Warm Audio gear, and I haven't gotten to try anything recent. I tried their 1176 and their LA2A, and I thought they were both pretty good, but I ended up replacing them with more expensive outboard compressors just a couple years down the road. But they were a really good starting point for me to start understanding what it feels like to be committing to compression on the way in, for me to be dialing in the optimal settings for the song that I'm hearing, and also for me to experiment with how to route audio in and out of my DAW. It was the perfect starting point and a really good price. So even though I personally don't use my Warm Audio gear anymore, I would absolutely recommend it to someone getting their first setup of analog gear, because it's just a great way to find out if it's for you. John says, I made a songwriting and production credits playlist for you on Spotify. Thank you so much. That's a great thing to check out if you guys are curious about what kind of songs I made for other artists, or what songs I produced for Kara, or what songs I produced and kind of worked on behind the scenes. Let's see, what kind of headphones do I prefer? Open back or closed back? Well, if I'm producing and not recording, I'll rock some open back headphones. But honestly, 90% of the time, I'm using closed back headphones just because I spontaneously start recording out of nowhere and I don't want to have to go like switch my headphones. So I just rock these ATH M50X most of the time. They're really good. Goofy Jester asks, what do you think of using tape machine compression instead of plugins or dedicated compression hardware? Tape machine compression, I'm guessing you mean like plugins that emulate tape machines, because I don't think I've ever actually had a tape machine. I throw those on when I'm going for this kind of nostalgic crunch. It's not something I do to every song as like a go-to. It's something I do to songs where I want to make them feel like they're from a past like decade or a past era. And it's you're right on where you said compression, because even though the tape machine is technically a saturation tool, it's compressing your mix quite a bit. So you definitely want to mix extra dynamic going into the tape machine, because that tape machine's going to eat some of your dynamics. And then you're also going to want to put a limiter afterwards because it's not going to completely limit your dynamics. But yeah, the Studer is a great option. I really like the UAD Studer. And let's see. The Slate tape machine is really good. And honestly, the Waves tape machines are really good too. But the UAD Studer gets the most use in my workflow. I've also been using a plugin called Alkane. And the tape algorithm in Alkane, if I'm not using UAD plugins, is probably what I would go for. But if I had my UAD accelerator box or whatever it's called, I'm using my Studer. Boom. Kara's asking if anyone knows how to tag names in the chat. For some reason, I think she's having an issue tagging names. Oh, did my camera possibly? Oh, no, it didn't freeze. Okay, we're good.
The @ sign doesn't work. Is there another trick?
Weird. I don't know.
Yes, like that.
Jerry C asks, are you still rocking the Presonus Quantum HD8? Yes, they're not here in my main studio, but I have a secondary studio in my bedroom where I use my HD8 speakers for things. There's a lot of things I do that aren't recording in production that I end up using my lower budget speakers for. And yeah, the Presonus speakers are right there. I use the HD8 interface too with their 8-inch speakers. It's like my bedroom studio setup that I never film. Have you ever tried FL Studio Mobile? No, actually. The only mobile app I've ever made music on was BandLab. Honestly, I struggle with FL Studio still. I need like a good friend to just like be there and answer my questions as I go, or else I spend more time on Google than I do in FL Studio every time I use FL. Mike Bond says, bro, I want to make a Neptune's 2000 style EP. Any advice, Korg, Trainer, etc., what to look for? Yeah, I guess you would probably want to get whatever analog synths you could get your hands on for authenticity. And you could probably find some Neptunes inspired drum packs or even like authentic Neptunes drum packs on the internet. I would say there's definitely an element of like musical performance within their music that just clicking in notes is going to be tough to replicate. So if I was trying to make a Neptunes inspired song, I would definitely be having my hands on the keyboard and like hands on the guitar and hands on the percussion as much as possible, just to keep that live element. Because even though Neptune's percussions are very sequenced and very sampled, it doesn't feel like MIDI. And it's easy when you're clicking in notes with your mouse to like make something that feels like MIDI. I don't know. Feels like MIDI is kind of a weird adjective, but I think you guys know what I mean. Share my thoughts about Reaper 7. Well, I personally have never tried it, but any free DAW I highly commend. I've heard many great things about the customizability of it and the speed of it and the lightweight and efficiency of it. But like I said, I've never actually tried it. The only free DAWs I've tried are Luna and BandLab. But if you like Reaper, use Reaper. I just because I don't use it doesn't mean I don't think other people should use it. Lax asks, why are my songs quiet? Well, loud songs start with loud sounding sound design. You want drum samples that feel loud. You want synths and hits that feel loud. And then you don't want there to be too many elements, or else it's hard to make things loud when there's a bunch of different things competing. You want it to feel really kind of stripped down and minimalistic to get it loud. And then a loud mix is what really allows you to have a loud master. Your song should already feel really loud when you're mixing it before you go and even push your final master chain. And then when you go to master your loud mix, always start with clipping first so that you can use those peaks to add harmonic saturation and perceive loudness, and then use a limiter in a very slight way. don't like slam a limiter to try and get it loud. You're better off doing clipper going into limiter to try and get it going loud. Are you going to do a review of the new Serum? Yes, I haven't even had the chance to open it yet because I was kind of caught by surprise that it was even coming out. And I was about to release the Melodyne course like the same day pretty much. So I had been working really hard on just finalizing the lessons for the Melodyne course and all the trailer and video and stuff like that, and didn't get a chance to really get into my DAW too much. And I feel like some major thing always drops when I have to like step away and do something else. Like FabFilter Pro Q4 dropped right when I was really busy with some other project, and Ableton 12 is the same deal. But yes, short answer, yes, I will be doing a Serum 2 review, and I'm also going to be doing some Serum 2 banks. I always help Kara do her Care for Serum products, which are going to be crazy with the new synth options in Serum 2. So I have high expectations for the Serum 2 stuff. Also, what do you think of a good mix will need minimal mastering? I think that was a question, but yes, if that was a statement, I agree. A good mix does need minimal mastering. I aim to have the whole master sound good through just a clipper and a limiter. Like 2 plugins is all you should need to master. You shouldn't be trying to like problem solve or reinvent or like do anything super transformative when you're mastering. You're like way too late at that point. Let's see. Also, do you use a room or plate reverb on a final master for space? I've never put reverb on my master. I know people have. I personally have not. Unless it's for like an effect during a build-up. I don't think I've put a master reverb on for any reason. Oh, looks like Kara's about to head out for the morning. Peace out, Kara. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, shop at iamkara.com for 30% off everything until the end of March. And same with Whole Loops, 30% off everything until the end of March for the St. Patrick's Day sale. If you have been to Whole Loops before, you'll notice that the products have been completely reinvented with an all fresh new look for 2025. And the new Melodyne course is up, and the new Auto-Tune and Melodyne bundle are up. So if you're one of those vocal pitch correction freaks who just can't get enough of vocal tuning software, we got the bundle there for you to maximize your knowledge of both. Nash and I actually filmed a YouTube video that's coming up next on my channel about the pros and cons of Auto-Tune Graph Mode versus Melodyne. And now this is going to be a really hot topic because I know people feel very strongly one way or the other. But in this video, we really break it all down. And I filmed it a while ago. I just haven't gotten around to editing it yet. But now that the course is out, the video is going to get edited. I needed to do one before the other. Goofy Jester says, you guys are the coolest thing in audio, by the way. Thank you so much. We appreciate you guys. I mean, we think you guys are the coolest thing in audio. The fact that there's a community of like-minded people who are interested in discussing these things that would otherwise just kind of be read about on spec sheets. I think that's cool. You know, I think there's nothing more exciting than demonstrating a piece of gear creatively rather than just reciting the frequency range or the dynamic range, or the Thunderbolt ports, or blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Let's do something. Let's make something, you know? Any tips or tricks for layering white noise / noise with drums? This is a great way to add a little bit more spice to a kick or snare. Instead of using a white noise sample, I've been using an Ableton stock plugin called Roar, and I've been using the noise injection distortion, and I really like the kind of white noise vibe that I get added to drums when I do that. And I've been doing it to basses, I've been doing it to leads, anything that just needs like a fuzz without being completely distorted, that noise injection with a low drive is just the sauce. What's your favorite ratio on a master? To tell you the truth, I'm not compressing my masters if I don't need to. I would rather clip and limit. So compression ratio on a master is not even something I'm thinking about. I might parallel compress a master, but I'm definitely not going to like serial compress a master. Luke says, do you have any specific tips on how to become a popular mixing engineer besides good skills? Yes. Get a camera, do something good on camera, then post it on social media, and then do it again. Boom, you have an audience, you have a following, you have people begging you for services. It's as simple as that. Consistency, quality, repetition, results. So that's obviously in addition to being good. That's just like that's like how to showcase that you're good, so that people value you accordingly to how you want to be valued. That's kind of the cool thing about creative endeavors. You can really pick the value of what you do. Like your engineering services can be really premium or really affordable, depending on what sort of business you want to run. You know, as a content creator, you could be really high end or really low end, and people appreciate both. There's no right or wrong way or good or bad way. You know, I love content that people film and it looks like they're just like on FaceTime with you. And I also like content that people film and it looks like a whole crew and a camera crane and a lighting team. Or I'm happy either way. But the point is for you to figure out what showcases your skills and your talents and helps showcase what's unique about you. Great tip. I thought about live streaming my mixing sessions. Absolutely. Live streaming is a great outlet for people who have long attention spans and can and have the availability for long hours to dedicate to their craft. You can also go in the opposite direction if your skills lie within editing and planning and that kind of creativity. Then post one piece of content a week or every other day or whatever frequency allows you to keep the quality good. But if your personality and your spontaneity or your ability to respond to people or interact with people is what makes you a likable professional, then absolutely hop on live stream and interact face to face with your community. You know, you don't have to be talking to a huge audience to make a big impact. I mean, look right now, there's only like 31 of us watching right now. That's cool, we're out here. Goofy Jester asks, Neumann versus ATC monitors, any input? I would say Neumanns are the best for people on a medium budget, and the ATCs would be the best for people on like a kind of final speaker budget. Like, you know, these are going to be with you for the rest of your career. But there's no reason that Neumanns couldn't be with you for the rest of your career too. I find that I like speakers that are extremely heavy. I know this seems like a pointless spec, but I always look at how much a speaker weighs. And you can kind of guess how heavy the sound is going to be. And I don't mean bass heavy, but just how much weight and power comes from behind the sound by how heavy the speakers are going to be. And I don't know, Neumann speakers aren't that heavy. I don't know if it's the kind of wood they make them out of or if there's like hollow space somewhere on the inside, but ATCs are like tanks. I have to like take a breath in between lifting each one onto the stand. They're like these ones behind me are like 85 pounds each. It's like half my body weight. What are my thoughts on Barefoot's MM27s? I really like Barefoots. I think they're a nice heavy duty speaker. Like I was just talking about before, heaviness is kind of important to me. I find them to be a little less mid-range present and more high frequency and low frequency present, whereas ATCs for me are the opposite. They're like more mid-range present. Really can't go wrong with any speaker that you can stretch your budget to get. Speakers don't have like the snake oil effect that plugins have. You really get what you're paying for, and the price tag is indicative of the sound quality that you're going to get. The only places where there's like a big discrepancy between price and sound quality are like, I think like the very low end speakers. Like there's a couple bangers out there that sound way beyond their price. But once you get into the higher end speakers, like you're spending up $1,000, $2, $3, $4, $5, anywhere up to 12, speakers can cost $100,000 if you're a lunatic. You really get what you are paying for in some way, shape, or form. The best way, I know it's tough to say, go listen to them, but if you live near one of those major music market cities where they have those stores with those kind of things set up, it's worth taking a trip there to hear them in person. That's what I did before I bought the ATCs. I lived in Los Angeles at the time, so I was very fortunate to be able to go down to Vintage King Audio, where they have their monitor room. I listened to the Barefoots, the Genelecs, the ATCs, Head, and one other brand. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but the ATCs just really felt right to me. And being in that room listening to them made my decision making really easy. Would you agree that monitors are the most important aspect of mixing? I would say your acoustic treatment is, because if I had to pick one thing that would be important and let everything else more effortlessly fall into place, it would be the acoustic treatment. Because the way speakers sound in like an echoey, cavernous chamber is just like not good. It's not helpful. It's not detailed, and it's not conducive to good decision making. So, and that's on the recording and production end. Acoustic treatment would probably be your biggest sound quality improvement you could ever invest in. Whatever speakers you have, whatever mic you have, are going to sound way better when you get acoustic treatment. Your ability to mix is going to go through the roof when your recordings aren't riddled with reverb, your playback isn't riddled with reverb. So, I don't know, I got to say acoustic treatment is number one game-changing purchase for anybody. Interfaces, you got to split hairs and listen very closely to hear the difference. Speakers, you got to split hairs and listen very closely to hear the difference. Microphones, they can be pretty different sounding. Preamps, you got to split hairs and hear the difference. Compressors, you got to listen close as hell and split hairs and hear the difference. Acoustic treatment, night and day difference. Huge difference. Amateur to professional in an instant. Not like mixing skills, but at least recording quality-wise. On your mixing skills, obviously you have a lot of familiarizing to do when you acoustically treat your room, because your space is going to sound totally new in a good way. But any changes means familiarization is necessary. Yeah, Goofy Jester saying flat response. Absolutely, a flat response is ideal. It's what everyone strives for. It's tough to reach a perfectly flat response, but a little bit of hope for people who are kind of caught up in that can of worms, I guess you could call it, is no matter whether your studio is flat or bright or has some zigzag of a response, you still need to spend the same amount of weeks getting used to whatever your studio sounds like. Whether it's corrected or, quote, incorrect or whatever, you're still looking at a 2+ week familiarization period. One thing I really don't like about room correction software is they sell it as if the familiarization period is non-existent. And that's just kind of buck wild to me. To claim that you don't need to familiarize yourself with your room once it's corrected, because flat is and good is good, and you're good now because your room's flat. That's goofy, but that's unfortunately how these room correction things are sold. So whether your room is flat or you're just sending your interface straight into your speakers and you don't even give a crap about flat measurement, nothing this or that, it's still going to take you 2 weeks to get used to what your speakers sound like either way. Jerry C is saying acoustic treatment and the ARC4 is the perfect combo. Whatever room correction calibration matches your setup or your interface or your whatever is good. If you're willing to go through the 2-week familiarization period, it's going to be good. If you're going to try and use it and then just expect to like skip that, it's not going to be good. And if you're just going to send an interface straight into your speakers, you're still looking at a 2-week familiarization period. So whether or not you correct it is really just up to your particular flavor of taste, in my opinion. Let's see. Songwriter James says, hey, Reid, did you produce Kara's song Peak with your Whole Loops 808s and bass pack? I want to purchase that exact pack. Yes, those are Disrespectful 808s. Probably from volume 4 or 5, if I had to guess. I don't remember off the top of my head, though. But honestly, volumes 1 through 3 are bangers, too. It's just 4 and 5 I've been probably using the most in 2024 and 2025. Luke says, I really want to join a masterclass from a big mixing engineer. That would be my first time. What can I expect besides mixing tips? Well, you're obviously going to get a whole bunch of mixing tips. So outside of that, if you're in a live masterclass, you can expect the ability to answer and ask questions directly in person. But if you're just purchasing a video masterclass, I would say you're going to get their personal take on stuff. And I love hearing people's personal take on stuff, but I never directly take people's personal take on stuff. I always kind of just try it for myself, see if it is the right solution for my situation. And my workflow ends up kind of being like a mashup of my favorite things that have worked for me in the past, or things that I've stumbled upon by accident that aren't supposed to work that just ended up working, or weird ideas that I had. So when you watch somebody's masterclass, it's going to be like a montage of those type of things. There never is like a one solution for all thing in audio or in mixing or in music production or in lyric writing or any endeavor. So you can't really expect any one course that you purchase to change your life. It's just going to change your perspective and offer all the knowledge and tendencies and favorites and workflows and tips and tricks that they have. So it's a little bit more than just tips and tricks. It's a little bit more personal than things than you can find in the instruction manual. It's more like their personal curation of what's out there, instead of like the best of what's out there, period. Good questions. Let's see. What are my thoughts on the SM7DB? I have a love-hate relationship with the Shure SM7B. And the SM7DB, I don't know, I feel like just kind of doubles down on my love-hate relationship with it. So everybody talks about the SM7B. Obviously, it's the microphone that's used by every popular podcaster for a good reason. In a music context, I don't get why it's such a popular recommendation. I understand that some older variant of it was used to record the vocal of Thriller, but I feel like people kind of wrongfully allocate the entire success of the song Thriller to this like microphone, like as if there wasn't ribbon mics on the drum kits and the orchestral things weren't recorded through the most expensive, finest microphones and preamps and consoles ever made. And all the composition and conducting in the drum kits and everything that went into the music of I'm using the Thriller example, was not the Shure SM7, which later became the SM7B, which later became the SM7DB. I know this is like kind of a hot topic, but I think people kind of unfairly just like throw the word Thriller on it when really it was just the vocal layer of Thriller. Like the drums weren't recorded with that. The guitars, the horns, those beautiful synths, just one layer of the song was. And people act like because they have an SM7B that they can do that. As a music recording tool in 2024, the SM7B is very dark and pillowy and like muffled sounding. Back when songs were printed onto records, cassettes, and other kind of mediums, what you wanted out of a microphone was different. So in 2025, I don't think a lot of people are actually going for that sound, and condenser microphones are a better choice for vocals. Let's see. NOTD used the SM7B to record demo vocals. So a lot of people use SM7B to record demo vocals. Keyword in that sentence is demo vocals. Something with the intent of doing more correctly later with a more optimal situation. The reason podcasters love it is because of the lack of detail. Their mouth pops and clicks, the saliva in their mouth every time they open it and close their mouth, the breaths, all that stuff is way less prevalent in dialogue when you record it through an SM7B. I personally record a lot of podcasting and dialogue through the SM7B. I would be using it for my live streams if it had a mute button on it, but I personally like using a mic with a mute button on it. I use the Lewitt Ray for my live streams. Once again, a condenser microphone. I really only use dynamic microphones when I need to mask bad isolation. They're excellent for that. Hiding the fact that your room is really reverby. Get a SM7B, great choice. Hiding the fact that your singer is being recorded with a band in the same room, live, like they did in the old days. Get an SM7 or an SM7B, great choice. It's like a built-in vocal booth. But it's also not that detailed compared to today's standards, and the way condenser microphone recordings are mixed, it's just not going to sound the same. And EQ is not going to make a condenser microphone behave like a condenser microphone. I think a lot of people give EQ a little too much credit and be like, oh, just get a whatever mic and then EQ it, and eventually you'll get it to sound like a $10,000 mic. I don't think so. Someone said SM7B and I just went on this half-hour rant. Sorry, guys. I guess I've just been bottling that one up. It's nice to get these feelings off my chest. You guys here. All right, here's an easier to answer question. What's your favorite VST? All right, well, I'm going to separate instruments from effects. If I'm talking about instruments, I guess Nexus. I'm lazy. I don't want to have to make a sound if I don't have to. People love glorifying sound design. I dread sound design. I do it, but I have to like take a deep breath first. Whereas using an instrument like Nexus, you just type in whatever you want, and it's just right there. And it usually sounds pretty dang good. You can turn the effects on and off or edit a few basic parameters. That's all I need. Y'all can laugh at me or call me basic. I don't care. And then favorite VST for mixing. Oof. I still think CLA Vocals is king for like an all-in-one. Then for master chains, Standard Clip and FabFilter Pro L2 are goated. I haven't been using Omnisphere that much. I feel like you have to scroll through all these boring drones and pads and horror movie sounds to get to anything that's like popping in Omnisphere. That might be a hot take, but I just don't use it that much anymore. Young Orange says, realest puppet in the game. Thank you. Y'all are the realest live stream viewers in the game, holding it down. I know this was like an unannounced, unpromoted live stream with no big audience today, but you know, just chatting with you guys is just as meaningful to me. Let's see. Hang on, I'm reading some comments here just to pick a good one. What is my favorite microphone and preamp for modern vocals? Okay, if I had unlimited budget, I'm going Telefunken 251 into my BAE 1073, into my CL1B, into my Prism Titan. Even with unlimited budget, I still wouldn't go buy a vintage Neve. I just don't want that headache. It's like buying a classic car. Do you really, like, they look cool in pictures, they look cool in parking lots, but do you really want to own that thing and be responsible for parts and maintenance and upkeep and cleaning and all that kind of stuff? Do you really want to have to rehouse that thing in some kind of thing that makes it sit in your desk in a kind of decent way? Because you know the OG ones were meant to be in a console, so you have to like put them in some custom enclosure just to screw it into a desk. Like, I don't want that headache. Just give me the BAE thing, let me screw it into my desk and start recording. So yeah, that's my dream vocal setup. And I've been able to slowly build my dream vocal setup over the past decade of working on vocal production projects. Cam D says the Omnisphere horror sounds is so real. Yeah. If you take out the horror movie sounds in Omnisphere, there'd be like 100 presets. And that might be an exaggeration, but there would be like 1/10 the presets. I just felt like I got tired of scrolling through drones and pads and weird reverby things. Goofy Jester says, I have a 32-channel SSL into a Prism Atlas. That sounds awesome. I've never really thought about running a console into my interface. I don't know, maybe I'm just into minimalism, or I'm just not into like that much analog gear, but I've always just felt right with an interface and just 2 pieces of analog gear to run my mic through. I don't mix with analog gear. I don't want to like send stems outside of the computer if I don't have to. I would rather just capture that goodness on the way in and do everything else with plugins and just live the easy life for the rest of the project, because I'm really not trying to recall and take pictures of knob positions. And also, I'm in a unique position where I review a lot of audio gear, and I'm constantly reconfiguring my desk to be like perfect to match what that kind of target customer's desk would look like. So yeah, I'm just not into that much gear. I just have the bare minimums: vocal chain, interface, speakers. I'm good. Any synthesizers and master chains and stuff that I have behind me, and meters. The meters are nice, but the master chain and the analog synthesizers, they rarely get used. Celestial asks, what is my choice DAW for beat making? I personally like Ableton a lot, but I think your preferences are more dependent on what kind of genre of music you're trying to make and what path you like to take to get there. I was always big in sampling and sound design and manipulating and flipping sounds, and Ableton just felt right at home for me. But if I was big on clicking in MIDI notes and melodies and chords, I would probably be an FL Studio user. Yeah, and if I was like really big on playing like musical instruments on my keyboard and having like a huge orchestra at my fingertips, I'd probably be a Logic user. And if I didn't make beats at all and I was just an audio engineer who was in charge of recording and mixing projects, I would probably just be a Pro Tools user. Yeah, everyone's saying back into the Prism. The Prism is, it's funny because when you look at it on like a specs sheet, it's like lower specs than modern budget devices. like it's only got 24-bit conversion. It's not 32. The dynamic range isn't some astronomical number. The Prism does not even connect with Thunderbolt or USB-C. It's like traditional USB. On a spec sheet, it's not that competitive of a device, and it's expensive. But when you hear it, it sounds phenomenal. And I think that really goes to show how little specs sheets really matter, and how much specs are kind of promoted to beginners when the devices that advanced users are buying don't even have those specs. And like mastering engineers aren't even using 32-bit converters in their interfaces. You know, a lot of that stuff is just marketed towards beginners for good reason. You can't clip your, it's easier to not mess up your recordings with 32-bit. Yeah, got my Prism for $2,500. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how much they're worth. They're not much more expensive than an Apollo, but I think the conversion sounds noticeably more expensive than an Apollo. When you're not divesting your product development costs into DSP and software and all these other things, you can really streamline and be the best at one thing. And I think that's what Prism does. It's just best at conversion. Obviously, there's probably better converters, but just the best interface kind of device for conversion. You could buy like a separate converter kind of device that just does conversion that sounds better. So no 32-bit. Yeah, no, 32-bit is something that you would want in either an entry-level device for someone who's not that good at setting their gain, or 32-bit is also good for video production equipment, because when you're doing audio in a video shoot, you don't know if the person on camera is going to like shout or talk loud or quiet, and you don't want your audio to be clipped, because then obviously it kind of breaks the fourth wall and your movie sucks. So I could see beginner audio music situations and also really professional audio film and TV and video recording applications wanting 32-bit. But yeah, you're not going to see a mastering engineer using a 32-bit converter, period. That like defeats the purpose of even buying a converter, because you want your converters to apply clipping to your signal and to apply a hard ceiling so that your final deliverable is within that 24-bit ceiling. You know, their mastering engineers are in the business of delivering 24-bit masters. So they need a 24-bit converter to help them do their job. 32 bits would do the opposite. It would take away their ability to use their converters as a clipper. And like half the time, that's why they choose their converters. Fun fact. Are converters not used for exact print? Well, in some situations, converters are used for an absolute transparent capture or print of something, but in other situations, like when people are mastering hip hop or dance music and you want to be aggressive with it because DJs are going to be playing it and it's going to be in those kind of loud environments, yeah, pushing the input gain on your converter to get that harmonic saturation into the master is an absolute secret weapon of many mastering engineers. They are pushing the levels into their final converters hotter than you would think. Sometimes 1 dB over just so they get a little bit of saturation. Whereas people think to go in it with headroom and be 1 dB under, they're like, nah, I'm going hot. And if you buy an interface with 32-bit converters, you literally can't do that because your interface is an unclippable interface, and you want to be able to clip your interface if you're mastering through outboard gear. What about clipping into a transformer or tube versus driving your converter? Well, those are all just different flavors of saturation. That's why when you buy saturation plugins, they tend to emulate all 3 or 4 of those different options. You know, like Alkane, it has a button for tube, transformer, tape, and synth, which is like emulates harmonic distortion as a synthesizer. But those are all just different flavors. And it comes down to what's the right flavor for your song. You know, what genre of music are you mixing, and what's lacking in the mix, and what flavor of distortion is going to make up for that kind of thing that's missing. Ari says, yes, I've never understood why clipping converters, but there is truth to it for sure. Yeah, it's definitely not something that you need to worry about as a non-mastering engineer. This is, again, we're talking about what people who get hired to master people's songs, these are the things that they think about. You as a music producer or a songwriter, you don't need to worry about this. You're better off just staying completely in the box and having your project going through a clipper and a limiter that you can edit at any point in any time. Once your song is completely finished and you're ready for mastering, yeah, maybe experiment between different converters or mastering engineers or setups or whatever it is that you're trying to do. But so many of my masters just get printed through plugins that I don't even think about this stuff. I'm just good friends with the mastering engineer and I'm just explaining the conversations that we've had and the things that I've picked his brain about. I don't even do any of this stuff. I just put a limiter plugin and a clipper plugin and call it a day. I just know about it because my homies do it. Excellent questions, though. Am I a Neve fan? Absolutely. I was explaining earlier that I like Neve emulation preamps, like BAE, and I also have the Vintech X73. And even though I could have, I guess, invested in a proper vintage Neve that everyone drools over, I don't want to. I don't want something that fragile. I don't want something that hard to fix. I don't want something with rare parts. I don't want something that's ancient. I don't want something with 1,000,000 miles on it. I have work to do. I got stuff to do, period. I don't want to just sit there and look at it because it's old. I don't care. That being said, I love the way it sounds, and I love the modern emulations that BAE and Vintech make. So I choose those. Will I do an in-person masterclass one day? I've been thinking about it. That'd be really fun. Like something that people could buy tickets to in like a room with some speakers and a screen. You guys can see what I'm doing. We'll do like a little vocal session or maybe like make a whole song in front of an audience. That'd be cool. Let's see. Abranil Kaudry asks, to record Foley and run and gun sounds, would you recommend the Zoom H1 Essentials with the 32-bit converters or the H1N with 24-bit? Yeah, as I was saying, 32-bit is great for video production applications where sounds can be unpredictable. Like if you're outside smashing objects together to create sound effect recordings, you don't really know how loud that sound that you're about to make is going to be, and 32-bit float can help you not risk ruining your recordings. And likewise, if you're a beginner buying your first interface and you don't know how gain works or anything like that, 32-bit could be helpful to help you not ruin your recordings. But I always make the bowling analogy. If you've ever been to a bowling alley, you have the options of either putting up the gutter bumpers or playing the traditional bowling alley. So 32-bit float is like the gutter bumpers. It's going to stop you from throwing a gutter ball, but it's going to also stop you from becoming a better bowler. So just learn how to throw the bowling ball straight and don't throw a gutter ball. Who is expecting that bowling analogy? Not me. Let's see. Someone asked my take on a Behringer product. Unfortunately, I don't have any experience with Behringer products, so I don't have any takes on Behringer products. I'm sorry. If they send me some, I'd be happy to test it out, though. I don't say no to anybody. Send it on over. I've also been waiting for RME to send me something, too. They never send anything to anybody, but people keep asking me. They want to see RME. I want to see RME, too. John says, I was the worst at the bowling alley. Yeah, I was too. I was using the bumpers. I was one of those bowlers too.
We should go bowling.
Kara says we should go bowling. I agree, we should go bowling. Haven't been bowling in a while. Bowling is popping. It's one of those sports where you don't really have to stay active or practice. You just feel like doing it and you drop in. Let's see, would you say that the Neumann headphones are your favorite headphones for mixing and mastering? For open backs, yes. I still like them slightly more than the Beyerdynamics, but I don't keep open back headphones out on my desk. I'm not gonna lie. 90% of the time, I like drop in a quick vocal and record something, so I keep closed backs always at all times. So my ATH M50X, even though they're not the most expensive headphones, they're my most used headphones. Everyone's saying the bowling balls are too damn heavy. Yeah, I agree. And you got to be really careful you don't step over that line, or you're going for a slip and slide. Like you're falling down for sure. The floors are slippery. I do like them swagged out shoes they let you borrow when you bowl, though. Excellent questions. Probably only going to go with a couple more. Hang on, let me scroll up and see if there's any good ones that I missed before I pick some new ones from the bottom. You guys have been hitting me with the sauce today. And speaking of the sauce, the banner below, for anybody who joined late in the live stream, the banner below is all the newly redesigned sauces at wholeloops.com. Everything is fresh looking for 2025. And speaking of fresh, there's a brand new Melodyne course at wholeloops.com where you can learn the basics of vocal pitch correction. This is the follow-up to our very best-selling Auto-Tune Pro course, where we show you the basics of manual pitch correction. But today, we're showing you Melodyne. Obviously, they go hand in hand. It's not really about one software being better than the other. It's about which one's right for the job that you're trying to do. And it's wise as a music producer and vocal engineer or singer to be at least fluent somewhat in both, because you never know which one's going to sound right for your song. So if you have not yet heard, today is the release day of the official Melodyne course at wholeloops.com. When you watch this course, not only are you going to learn an entire orientation and intro to all the tools and options and keyboard shortcuts and workflows and things that you'll need, but then you get to watch an entire vocal session where I sing some bad vocals. I sing Don't You Worry Child by the Swedish House Mafia, and then my friend Nash, my poor friend Nash, has to go and tune every single syllable by hand on camera, and he does it, and you get to watch. And then after that, you get to see how good singing gets tuned in Melodyne. Kara does a cover of Water by Tyla, and then Nash tunes it completely by hand in Melodyne to add that professional polish to already good sounding singing, where your singer's already practiced and knows how to hit notes, but just needs that slight little bit of correction to get that professional polish going. So the Melodyne course is available now at wholeloops.com, and everything at Whole Loops is 30% off for St. Patrick's Day today. I know it was 2 days ago, but the sale's going for the entire rest of March 2025. So check it out. Now back to the questions. How does the 1073 in unison mode compare to something like a Warm Audio or WA1073 style unit? I'm not going to lie. I don't think unison mode in reality comes close. Like on paper and in marketing, it claims to do the same thing, but the feel of it is not the same. And I'm not talking about like the feel of turning knobs. I don't give a crap about the feel of turning knobs. I'm talking about the feel of singing through it. Does it feel forgiving dynamically? When you sing loud, does it get clippy and crunchy, or does it just stay smooth and consistent? With the unison preamps, I feel like it kind of has that inconsistent dynamic spikiness that I call it raw dogging a mic into an interface tends to give you. Like the number one dead giveaway of amateur vocal recordings, aside from poor acoustic treatment, I guess I should say the number two dead giveaway after acoustic treatment would be dynamics and whether or not they're spiky or consistent. You know, the human vocal is not perfectly consistent. It spikes up and down, and there's inflections, and sentences tend to start loud and end quiet, or whatever it may be. And the whole point of analog gear for me is forgiveness that allows you to forget about that sensitivity while you're performing and know that it's just going to be smooth. And I don't feel like the Unison preamps really offer the singer that live forgiveness in their headphone mix. I'm sure in some A/B test you can get the knobs to sound close, but when it comes to actually vocalizing through a microphone and hearing yourself live in your headphones, I feel the difference so easily. And I don't think Unison really gets you to what any budget of analog gear would get you. You specifically in your question mentioned the warm audio stuff. I think you'd probably get better forgiveness and a more smooth, professional feeling recording experience with the warm audio gear than you would with the Unison software preamp emulations. So I know that's slightly more expensive to step outside the box for your vocal chain, but I think that software just doesn't even come that close. And then when you compound the difference of like a tube mic with a solid state preamp with a tube compressor, individually, like you could probably, like I said, do an A/B test where an emulation comes close. If you're gonna like take a C800 and raw dog it into an interface and then use a C800 emulation, yeah, it might come close. But if you take a C800, go through a Neve, then go through a tube tech, then go to an interface and compare recordings where it's just emulation after emulation after emulation, even if it's the same, it could be a Sony emulation, a Neve and a tube tech emulation, all lined up, man, would the difference be night and day. And I'm actually planning a video that articulates that because I feel like analog gear is still in a lot of situations leagues beyond software. And the main situation is the recording situation. And I think people tend to do mixing examples when they make examples of why analog gear is becoming irrelevant because of plugins can get you just as close. They always do a mixing or mastering situation. It's never a recording situation because it wouldn't prove their point too good. And we're gonna make a video about that. And there's a reason why everyone trying to show you why plugins are just as good as analog gear, they always show you some sort of playback mix. It's never like a singer in the booth going through a proper chain and then comparing a complete emulation chain. Night and day difference. And I can't wait to show you guys that. Someone says, well, different ears have different fears. I guess that's true. And yeah, also, I have a unique reason to be a particular stickler with all this stuff because I sell vocal sample packs. There's this obvious argument, and it's true, why buy expensive gear? No one's ever going to get to solo your vocals. No one's ever going to get to hear that small, tiny difference. It's going to get mixed over a beat. There's going to be a master chain. There's going to be all these other things clouding the difference. Why bother spending 20 racks on a vocal chain? Well, that might be true for you, but as someone who sells vocal sample packs, literally everybody is going to hear my soloed vocals. Literally everybody. Literally everybody. Because that's the whole point of selling a vocal sample pack, is for people to get access to your soloed vocals. So it's a unique situation, and that goes right over everyone's heads when they see the expensive gear. They don't even, they think, oh, you're just making songs with that. And obviously songs don't pay that good. Spotify streams don't pay that good. There's no way you should be able to afford that. So it's just right over everyone's heads. So yeah, it's a fun little fact that I wanted to share before I wrapped up the whole stream. I really like the questions about analog gear and stuff like that. I'm working on a lot of topics about this. Like I said, I want to do an A/B comparison, articulating the compounding difference of 3 emulations versus 3 real pieces of analog gear working in a series. That's going to be a hot topic banger. Yeah. Let's see. Someone says bowling still hurts my fingers, but whatever. I totally get it. It's not an easy sport to do. Realest puppet in the game. Thank you guys so much for joining today's St. Patrick's 2025 live stream. The Melodyne course is out now at wholeloops.com. Catch it on the 30% off sale before the end of March 2025 if you want a fresh discount on the freshest courses in the game. Thank you guys all so much for watching and participating and asking these fire questions. I'm going to leave this live stream up as a rerun for you guys to rewatch, and I'll see you next time in another video. Let's see if I can get this thing going here for it. Oh.
the same.